The application files for the 2025 presidential election officially handed to the Electoral Council. 2 tugboats named after Anglophone icons. Mark Breeze sets the record straight concerning his resignation. This and more in this newscast. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining us on this edition of the Primetime News on ABAKWA Television. At the anchor, I am Gashi Sharon. Let's kickstart the news with the chairperson of the follow-up committee charged with supervising the realization of projects with funds for the publication of investment budgets. Sama Wesley has details in the following report.
Honorable Ago Oliver, representing the Bafoutuba constituency in Parliament, made the appeal Tuesday, July 22nd at the second quarter of the 2025 divisional preparatory meeting, which evaluated the rate of execution of public investment budget projects in the division 7 months into 2025. The committee chairman shared the opinion that projects are quickly materialized and perfectly done when community leaders like the funds, civil society, quarter heads, religious heads, and institutions, and also members of the beneficiary community are brought on board during the execution process. Contractors, according to him, can easily penetrate the suburbs and execute their projects despite the security concerns when they rely with the local population of the project area. Mezam Division for 2025 has a total of 91 projects funded to the tune of over 2.4 billion CFA. Almost all the projects have been awarded, 8 completely executed, and 38 ongoing, putting fiscal execution rate for Mezam Division at over 38%. In terms of performance so far, Bafut Council comes first with a realization rate of over 60%, followed by Santa with 34.34% and Bali with 34.19%. The council rate ranks last with 0 execution of projects so far. It was revealed in the meeting that reforms are gradually being effected to digitalize the award process of contracts.
Minister has named 2 tugboats after Anglophone icons EML Endeli and John Gu Foncha for their contributions to the present Cameroon. Let's get details from our correspondent. The Minister of Transport, Jean Enes Ngale Bibehe, has commissioned 2 tugboats acquired by the Port Authority and named after 2 prominent English-speaking figures in Cameroon's history. The vessels purchased from the Netherlands have been named EML Endeli and John Gu Foncha in honor of their contributions to the building of present-day Cameroon. The event was attended by the Governor of the Northwest Region, His Excellency Adolphe Lele Lafrique, the Paramount Chief of Boya, and the President of the Northwest Regional Assembly, Professor Fru Angwafo III. It has been described as a significant symbol of recognition for the contributions of Anglophone leaders to the nation's development. And still on news within the country, the Yaoundé International War College marked a significant milestone 25 as it bid farewell to its 20th birth of student trainees in a grand ceremony held at the amphitheater of the institute, presided over by the minister delegate at the presidency in charge of defense. The Director National of the electoral body has officially handed over the candidacy files to You have not started recording. Of Elections, Dr. Essos Eric has officially handed over the candidacy files for the October 2025 presidential election. Let's get the details in this report.
In accordance with the provisions of the Electoral Code in its Article 123, declarations of candidacy must be made in double copies within 10 days after the convening of the electoral body. Candidature declarations are being made with the General Directorate of Elections. They can also be done with the regional members of Elections Cameroon, who transmit them within 24 hours to the General Directorate of Elections. After this phase of receiving the candidature files, which ended this July 21st at midnight, the Electoral Council has begun since this day, July 23, 2025, the examination of the 83 files submitted by the Director General of Elections. Indeed, according to Article 10, Paragraph 2 of the Electoral Code, the Electoral Council examines the candidature files and publishes the list or final list of candidates for the presidential, legislative, senatorial, regional, and municipal elections. Still in the same vein, Article 125 states that the Electoral Council may accept or declare a candidacy ineligible. The notification of the motivated decision to reject a candidature is made to the person concerned by the Director General of Elections. In light of Article 126, at least 60 days before the date of voting, the Electoral Council stops and publishes the list of candidates. Notification is made immediately to the Constitutional Council. So, it is in no way up to the General Directorate of Elections to decide on the admissibility of a candidature file. It is important to remember here that Elections Cameroon work within the framework of the law. Article 4 of the Electoral Code clearly states that Elections Cameroon perform its duties in compliance with the provisions of the Constitution as well as the law and regulations enforced.
And over to sport news, the head coach of the Indomitable Lions, Mark Breeze, has set the record straight following the Fecafoot announcement of his resignation. Asama Wesley compared this for the report.
While his alleged resignation was made public by the Cameroonian Football Federation on July 23, 2025, the Belgian coach has broken his silence to formally dispute the authenticity of the documents circulating in his name. In an official letter addressed to the Minister of Sport, Mark Breeze categorically denies having written or sent any resignation letter. He claims his personal email account was likely hacked and describes the situation as a case of manipulation. The coach came online to debunk every news surrounding news of his resignation. The Belgian coach says he remains focused on the upcoming fixtures with the players and is fully committed to his work.
And over to foreign news, Hamas confirmed on Thursday that it had submitted response to an Israeli ceasefire proposal after more than 2 weeks of indirect talks in Qatar failed to yield a deal. The group proposing amendments on troop withdrawals, aid access, and a permanent end to the war. For me, Schneider has details.
Hamas has just submitted its response and that of the Palestinian factions to the ceasefire proposal to the mediators. The response included proposed amendments to clauses on the entry of aid, maps of areas from which the Israeli army should withdraw, and guarantees on securing a permanent end to the war, according to the Palestinian source familiar with ongoing talks in Doha. Negotiators from both sides have been holding indirect talks in Doha with mediators in an attempt to reach an agreement on a truce deal that will see the release of Israeli hostages. Of the 251 hostages taken during Hamas' 2023 attack, 49 are still being held in Gaza, including 27 in which the Israeli military says are dead. But the talks have dragged on for more than 2 weeks without a breakthrough, with each side blaming the other for refusing to budge on their key demands. For Israel, dismantling Hamas's military and governing capabilities is non-negotiable, while Hamas demands firm guarantees on a lasting truce, a full withdrawal of Israel troops, and the free flow of aid into Gaza. Israeli government spokesman David Mencer on Wednesday accused Hamas of obstructing talks. Israel has agreed to the Qatari proposal and the updated U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff proposal. It is Hamas that is refusing, Mencer told reporters, adding that Israel's negotiating team was still in Doha and talks were ongoing. The United States, said Witkoff, will head to Europe this week for talks on a possible ceasefire and an aid corridor. More than 100 aid organizations warned on Wednesday that mass starvation was spreading in Gaza.
And ladies and gentlemen, this brings us to the end of this edition of the Primetime News on ABAKWA Television. The news was produced by Logan Brandon, supervised by the station's director, King Wills, coordinated by the entire news desk of ABAKWA Television. And for presentation, I am Gashi Sharon. Do stay in the company of more interesting programs coming up on ABAKWA Television. Thanks for watching. Good night.